now, back to our host, Ceslie Armstrong.
Hi, Tori. It's Ceslie Armstrong.
Hi, Ceslie. How are things?
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And I have to tell you, first right off the bat, thank you for doing this album.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you for listening.
It's really incredible. I mean, I have to tell you, I've been a fan for years, and we've even done an interview together years ago, but it really is spectacular. It's so powerful and emotional and interesting and grown up. I just love it. And I know our audience will, too. You know, our media company really targets women over 40, and our whole theme is being stylish, healthy, and informed, all at the same time. So I think your music and your messaging is so important for our audience.
Well, that means a lot to me.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. And now you're back on Universal Republic. How's that feel?
Well, what it feels like is that I'm working with my mentor again, Doug Morris, who broke Little Earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the things you just said, I think that when you're working with people that respect what you do, I knew that the emotions on the record were, well, they were deep for me. Mm-hmm. Some of it was pretty close to the bone and very personal.
Right.
And you always don't want to hand over that kind of material to people that you don't really trust. So knowing that Doug broke Little Earthquakes, there was a kind of sense of, all right, I feel like this very emotional record is going to be in safe hands with him and with Monty Littman over at Universal.
Well, you know, it really is. There's all this talk about intellectual property, and certainly that's very, very important. But even as an artist, you know, you of course know this, and our audience is very keen to this, is that, you know, you have to really go deep in one's soul, and you're affected not only by things in your everyday life, but relationships present and past, and it's an incredibly revealing thing to really be a true artist as yourself and then communicate on a worldwide medium being music.
Well, you know, the songs have always been there for me when nothing else seems to help me to get through a confrontation or a situation. And as I've gotten older, I've noticed that without my women friends, and the songs being a lot of my women friends, because they are my friends.
Right.
And they come to me when I'm least expecting it sometimes. They're alive and they're these real creatures. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it was, these are turbulent times. Right. I had noticed from a lot of other women that who were having to work and sometimes be the only provider.
And go back to work.
Right. That it was there was a lot of weight on some very dainty shoulders, but powerful shoulders.
Throughout the whole album, I mean, you really do play with this idea of power, holding on to it, protecting it, or giving it away. You know, why do we do that to ourselves, you say? And I have to tell you, I had lunch last week with Gloria Steinem, the great feminist of our time. And we were talking about your new album because you really do play with all these concepts of feminism, which means we can still be sexy and sensual and spiritual, but we have to hold on to that power. And that's so prevalent through this album.
I was amazed as I was traveling over the last year and a half while I was writing this, how many women would just come up to me and tell me stories about how in a certain aspect of their life they were ashamed to say that they were out of control. They weren't able to draw lines in a certain relationship. And it might not always be a lover relationship. It might be with a family member, or it might be with a coworker. But what I found is that these women could be very powerful in a certain part of their life, but then in another part of their life, somehow it all just got unraveled.
Right.
And people have said to me, as a woman who seems to have a lot of power, how can you even know about these things? And I say to them, all women, I feel, are challenged in different parts of their lives and confronted with things that I don't know, where I have to break a chain. I have to make sure that I don't slip back into a pattern of subservience.
Well, it's also, now, of course, you're a mother and your daughter must be 9 or 10 years old, I guess, right?
She's 8.5, yeah.
Okay, so, I'm wondering, too, having said what you just did about, breaking the chain and not repeating these bad situations or habits that we get in, we have to be role models for our daughters or our nieces or whomever, these young women coming up, just like, we have icons that we look up to. They look up to us. So did your process of writing change? Did your ideas about how your music is developed change when you became a mother? And are you consciously thinking about sort of this legacy and the lessons for your daughter?
Well, I think as Natasha has gotten older, I think there was a period there around the Beekeeper where I had walked into maybe a place of motherhood and Birkenstocks, even though they might have had rhinestones on them. But I got out of, I think, just for a little while, a place of stepping into the complete woman, not just the mother, but the woman as well as the mother.
Right.
Now that she communicates, House is her favorite show. She isn't a typical 8-year-old. I'm not going to lie to you and say she's normal. Tash is not. She's traveled the world. This is her 5th world tour.
Well, and this is a family business you're in now, because
that's right.
He's a music engineer, or?
Yeah, he's sound engineer, yes.
Okay. Well, so it is a family business, Tori.
That's right. No, you're so right. And so she can really take on board a lot of concepts. And I think that maybe being exposed to all the things that she has questions about, and she's very close to her cousins, my sister's children, 2 are daughters, and one's 23 and one's 17. And so they run the age gamut of what different young women are going through. And yes, my writing has been very influenced by what these 3 young girls, women, go through.
Yeah, I mean, that's really pretty much every generation there, running the gamut. I mean, I'm an only child, but my cousin was an only child as well, and she was 3 years older than me, or is 3 years older than me. But that seemed like a really big jump, 3 years when you're looking at your teenage years. And of course, as we age, those time gaps they diminish. But do you take her with you on tour? You're getting ready to embark on a really big tour.
Yes. Tash, for every tour, she has a theme for her room. She has her own backstage room.
Oh, I love it. That's so great.
And a long time ago, it was Tashtopia. But this tour, she has announced that it is Tasha Chanel.
Oh, my God.
And she's become obsessed with Coco Chanel and the fact that she created this empire. And she said, Mommy, I think I need to create an empire. And so backstage, of course.
So she's empire building at age 9.
Yeah, but she's being given a budget.
Oh,
meaning,
fantastic.
But not a big one, meaning we are being quite disciplined with her about if you're going to do this, then you only get so much in order to get your dressing room the way you want it, because that's our home on the road. The buses and our backstage, we turn it into our home. It's just a home on the go.
Right. Well, now this really does fit with our whole editorial message then, as stylish, healthy, and informed.
Yeah.
She's fitting all those. Well, it is interesting. You said it's such an interesting time we're living in. And it is with women because we're finding, sort of to spin off into a little fashion and beauty discussion here, that, we may still be buying Chanel No. 5 or a Chanel bag, but then we're also buying, denim jeans, the Levi's that are more affordable, and we're buying, maybe we're also mixing our expensive department store makeup with our tried and true drugstore $10 and under brands. It's a different time now for young girls coming up because they're seeing their moms that are, our ages, really creating a personal style in how we shop for our beauty and fashion products.
I think it's so important that we make sure that we don't step into stereotypes of, well, if I can still hold on to my femininity and walk in and duel with the big boys in the music industry. I mean, if I'm going to play chess, I've had to learn over the years that I'm going to get a lot further in a high heel and a glass of champagne than if I'm pounding the table and, making demands in a way that turn them off. So, yes, I would use whatever wiles I need to in order to make sure that my team is treated fairly. And usually I've got a high heel on when I'm doing those negotiations.
Well, I'll tell you, if you walk into the boardroom looking anything like you do in these gorgeous new images for this album, they're going to say yes every time. Well, that shoot in the hotel room must have been really fun.
So fun.
Oh.
And I think to reclaim some of those items that get I don't know, put on the top shelf magazines and in porno magazines where you think, oh, the whole idea of eroticism seems so, demeaning.
Right.
And I felt like, no, we're going to reclaim that idea. And the underlying theme for me was erotic spirituality.
Well, there can, absolutely, with your background in religion and, being raised by or your father being a minister. My grandfather was a minister. I understand it can be confusing, these ideas, the iconic, the icons that we even visually look at. When you start mixing the spirituality and the concepts of eroticism and all of this together, it really can be confusing, or it can be something that we can claim and understand and explore as part of just human life.
Interesting you bring this up because women have said to me when I tour that one of the most difficult things for them, because of this imprintation and not even knowing sometimes that it's beneath the skin and you're carrying these concepts around, what's been so difficult, I've been told, is the integration, how to integrate your mother with your woman, the sexual and the spiritual, because a lot of women have said, I either step into one or into the other. I step into bad girl or I step into, mommy with a halo.
Right.
And sometimes you think, no, you need to be able to think for a minute. I'm not saying you bring the fishnets to playgroup,
right.
But I'm saying inside of yourself, you can live your life as a fully integrated woman, and that's been a big challenge for me because I've had to break through all the imprinting that went on of the shame and
the guilt too.
Yes.
The guilt of it all. Absolutely. I think many times that, what I've heard over the years of, being a magazine editor for so many years, women tend to tell you things in letters to the editor that they would normally tell you if they were sitting across the table from you. And, you do hear almost these confessions that women have, and it sounds like they're coming to you and saying these things as well. I think intellectually we know that we can be both. It's just how does it manifest itself internally, and then how do we show that to the world?
That's right.
Do we show it through fashion? Do we show it through our actions? Do we show, there's many different ways of showing it, and certainly your music, Tori, particularly with this album, I'm so happy we've made this our pick for the week, because we're going to be playing a different track every day and really encouraging women to purchase this album. And, one of the great things is I love it that the lyrics are on your website, on toriamos.com. So it's really fantastic to get lost in the music of it, and then to be able to go back and read your really soulful and important lyrics that are part of it all.
Well, one reason we put them up on the website was because as I get older, I can't see. And I said to Chelsea, Chelsea, I cannot see these bloody lyrics in the packaging.
Notes or whatever, yeah.
I mean, I said the packaging's beautiful and everything, but I need a magnifying glass to look at this stuff. So I decided, well, let's put it in a form so people, if they, even with my glasses on, see like me. See, the good thing is I don't need to see to play.
Right. There you go.
So I don't have to wear glasses when I play. Yeah, I can play with my eyes closed, but that's the only thing I can do.
Well, you're the perfect artist for us, for our audience, because you're one of us. I mean, it's really, I think it's so fantastic that we're seeing women over 40 that in the entertainment industry, in the arts, even on TV shows. I mean, you look at, silly shows that have all these women over 40 on them, and but they're entertaining and they're fun, and there's a very serious side to it. And Tori, I want to thank you so much for sharing time with my audience today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love being in my 40s, and I'm sure I'll love the 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm ready to wear my high heels when I'm 80, touring. If I can do it, I'm going to do it.
Well, kick up your heels, girl. And,
thank you for having me.
Promise our audience that you'll keep writing this gorgeous music throughout the decades to come.
I promise. It's my goal.
Great. Thank you, Tori.
All the best.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.